Listen closely, because this message is for you. You didn't stumble here by accident. You were summoned by truth. You've been feeling it, haven't you? That quiet knowing, that stirring in your spirit that says, something bigger is happening. And now, the confirmation has arrived. You are not crazy. You are not weak. You are not broken. You are chosen. The very people who tried to write you off are now watching their entire narrative fall apart. The ones who thought they could block your rise are standing there in disbelief, realizing they were never in control. Because what's on your life is not man-made. It's divinely issued, and no scheme, no ritual, no whispered curse can cancel a calling that came from above. So take a breath, lift your head, straighten your shoulders. You are walking in unshakable favor. You're not just protected, you're untouchable. And the world is about to see exactly why they should have never come for someone they didn't understand. This is your moment. This is your clarity. This is your divine revelation. There are some beings the universe does not allow to be touched, not out of favoritism, but out of sacred assignment. What's been written over your existence cannot be edited by human hands or rewritten by forces that fumble in shadows. When someone tries to trespass against that kind of calling, even the unseen world raises a warning. And right now, the ones who try to tap into their arsenal of curses and chaos are learning that the terrain around you is not ordinary ground. It's consecrated territory. They sit there stunned, locked in the disbelief of a revelation they never planned for. The spiritual operator they trusted for outcomes now stands in silence, unable to proceed. Their mouths open, but no instruction comes. Their eyes flicker, not with power, but panic. The atmosphere is different, charged not with threat, but with restriction. Every hex they imagined dissolves mid-air before intention can become impact. Looking for purpose and peace? Hit subscribe and start the journey. What they didn't factor in was your insulation. Not from this realm, not from this system, but from the higher grid that reroutes destruction before it ever arrives. You live surrounded by layers they can't map, let alone penetrate. They prepared their assault thinking you were vulnerable. But what they aimed for was never exposed. The real version of you, the one assigned, anointed, and armed, sits out of range, behind coordinates their rituals can't reach. If your heart overflows with divine love, now is the moment to let it shine. Click the super thank you button on YouTube and give $50 or more to help carry God's light to others. Your gift will bless not only your life, but countless others. You are part of His sacred plan. Your kindness may be the answer to someone's prayer. Share your blessings and honor His kingdom. May His grace guide you always. They spent energy like currency, sacrificed time and sanity, gathering herbs, words, charms, and names. And for what? Nothing. Not a single arrow made contact. Not a single scheme made sense once set in motion. While they held late-night sessions murmuring strategies and lighting torches of malice, you were simply existing, untouched, unbothered, unmovable. What they misunderstood is that this battle was already over. The victory was etched before their first plan even took shape. Their effort was built on ignorance of who you really are. They thought they were dealing with someone ordinary, but your protection didn't come from your own strength. It came from realms above theirs. And now, they're left holding smoke. Their spells bounced back, their incantations fragmented. They conjured shadows and were swallowed by them. The silence in their rooms now isn't meditative, it's defeated. Even the air around them seems heavy with regret. Every whispered plot hangs in the balance, unanswered by the powers they once trusted. Make your impact eternal. Join now and be a light in someone's darkness. The gatherings continued for weeks. They revisited the same old pages, same old patterns. They revised tactics, switched messengers, tried new angles. Still, every launch failed. Not delayed, denied. Their attacks didn't even brush your energy. Not because you were hidden, but because you were cloaked in something permanent, something that cannot be cracked, bargained with, or unraveled by human means. They didn't just fail. They learned they never had a chance. Because you were never within reach, not physically, not spiritually, not in any way that would grant them access. You were protected not just by decree, but by divine classification. And the sooner they accept that truth, the sooner they'll stop sacrificing their own peace, trying to touch what was never given to them. It comes suddenly, without theatrics, without warning. A single sentence drops from the mouth of the very one they trusted most, the one they believed had all the keys to unlock the unseen. But this time, instead of smug certainty, there's panic behind the eyes, hesitation in the voice. This one is shielded by something I can't override. The room stills. Confidence drains like blood from a fresh wound. The declaration doesn't just halt the ritual, it shatters the foundation of their entire operation. It isn't just a failed attempt, it's an exposed impossibility. The weight of wasted effort presses in on all sides, time, money, energy, all invested into what now stands revealed as unbreachable. The spellbooks, the diagrams, the months of coordination, none of it mattered. They stare at one another in stunned silence, grasping the scale of their miscalculation. No amount of force, no ancestral invocation, no borrowed power could break through. Their frustration turns frantic. Pacts have been made, payments have been transferred, luxuries sacrificed, credit stretched thin, rare materials acquired through back channels and international contacts, all promised to ensure your downfall. They didn't just want results, they paid for devastation. But what they received was silence. No flicker, no signal, no shift. Just a towering wall of stillness that refused to let their intentions move an inch forward. The ingredients were rare. Soil from forbidden places, wax from rituals long outlawed, incantations translated through unreliable tongues. They gathered from across borders, trusted whispers, exchanged codes, followed instructions down to the thread, each motion exact, each candle placed with obsessive precision. And still, nothing. No ripple in the atmosphere, no flicker in your energy, no disturbance at all. Their workings collapsed into smoke that curled into nothing. And something even stranger began. The energy didn't vanish. It returned. Not slow, not subtle. It came back with focus, like a mirror reflecting only to the sender. Too late, the one they hired speaks again, but this time with alarm instead of confidence. You've crossed into ground we were never meant to touch, and that's when they finally understand. This wasn't just another soul. You're marked by forces that don't tolerate interference. The safeguards weren't just spiritual, they were sovereign. Not only were you unreachable, you were encased in something that returned harm multiplied and directed with surgical precision. What they unleashed circled back like a homing beacon. The emotional ruin they desired begins unfolding in their own homes. The financial collapse they plotted for you begins unraveling their own stability. Their protection cracks while yours remains unshaken. They thought they were hunting unguarded territory, but your essence carried a built-in firewall, always running, always aware, always one step ahead. It doesn't need your attention to activate. It doesn't require your awareness to function. It is an embedded system, encoded into your spiritual structure, locking you inside a shield that bends laws they do not comprehend. And now, they pay, not with regret alone, but with the erosion of the very things they tried to steal. The jobs, the relationships, the influence, the health. The mirror has turned, and it shows them everything they wished upon you, replaying in their own lives, line by line. Not because you cursed them, but because they aimed at something beyond their clearance. Because divine protection doesn't just defend, it corrects. With timing, with force, with finality. Some consequences arrive dressed in silence, but their impact shouts through the lives of those who sowed injustice. One by one, the symptoms manifest, not where intended, but in the very bodies of those who orchestrated harm. Their hands begin to tremble, not from guilt, but from ailments doctors can't trace. Their minds become fogged by the very confusion they tried to conjure. Chaos creeps into their relationships, those carefully curated facades of unity unraveling as betrayal blooms in their own homes. The universal order is not fueled by emotion, but by balance. It functions like a perfect equation, one that multiplies return based on motive, one that calculates intent before form. There's no escape clause in divine justice, no discount code for dark intentions. They didn't realize that what you send out doesn't just return. It adjusts to your own fault lines, your own vulnerabilities, your own unguarded shadows. If your heart overflows with divine love, now is the moment to let it shine. Click the super thank you button on YouTube and give $50 or more to help carry God's light to others. Your gift will bless not only your life, but countless others. You are part of His sacred plan. Your kindness may be the answer to someone's prayer. Share your blessings and honor His kingdom. May His grace guide you always. They scramble now. Phones light up before dawn. Cold sweat. Missed calls. Sudden, we need to talk meetings with no context. Gatherings in empty parking lots with voices lowered, but fear raised. Eyes dart around, each person suspecting the next. Trust dissolves under the weight of consequence. What once felt like control now reeks of desperation. Their alliance crumbles not from outside interference, but from internal erosion. Suspicion becomes their currency. Some believe they were misled by the very guides they paid. Others whisper that someone among them warned you or sabotaged their intent. And a few, more shaken than the rest, begin to consider the possibility that a higher authority is actively working against them. One they did not account for, one that doesn't respond to ritual, but to righteousness, looking for purpose and peace. Hit subscribe and start the journey. The intricate framework they constructed begins to buckle. Their strategy starts to look more like superstition. What was once organized now looks disjointed. Documents disappear, but not without trace. Panicked deletions only trigger more questions. Files purged. Devices wiped. But the record isn't held in code alone. It lives in frequency, in imprint, in the very architecture of the spiritual plane, where nothing is ever truly erased. They burn what they can, literally. Paper scorched in small flames in backyards and vacant fields, smoke rising into the night, with a hint of failure. But the effort is futile. There is a record, a higher one, where nothing goes unmeasured. Thoughts, intents, and motivations are etched like grooves in eternal stone, noted not just by time, but by spirit. Their downfall is no longer pending. It's active. Every attempt to cover their path adds to the debt already owed. Each lie layered on the last deepens the deficit they now carry in spirit. What they tried to erase becomes louder. What they attempted to hide begins to surface in unexpected ways. Make your impact eternal. Join now and be a light in someone's darkness. This moment you're living now, it's not a coincidence. This message didn't find you by chance. It's confirmation. You were meant to see it, meant to recognize yourself in its truth. Because when aligned souls converge in understanding, the fabric of time takes notice. Realignment follows, correction follows, and those who tried to shift your path without permission, they now walk paths unraveling beneath their own feet. This moment didn't find you by accident. You're tuned in because something higher knows exactly what you carry and exactly what's been aimed against you. But what they miscalculated, what they never even thought to factor into their desperate little plans, is this: you are not standing alone. You never were. There is a power grid behind you that predates their intentions and outranks their methods. If you're called to build with us, we welcome you. If all you can do is receive, then let this serve as your confirmation. The tide already turned in your favor. Stretching behind you is a network of ancient authority, spiritual allies who don't blink when danger draws near. What surrounds you isn't just protection, it's enforcement. It's legacy forged through millennia, showing up now as a wall they cannot scale. These are not generic spirits or borrowed beings. They are specific, bound to your blood, awakened for this era. The moment the one tasked with initiating harm tried to pierce your perimeter, they backed away. Their body moved before their mind could. Their tools failed before they even started. It wasn't just fear, it was recognition. They recognized that the line they were about to cross wasn't an ordinary boundary. It was a cosmic border with consequences, guarded by intelligences far beyond their access level. They reached for influence and met interdiction. Their knowledge, though deep in comparison to the average seeker, was still surface level when confronted with the weight of your heritage. What flows through your veins is not mere biology. It's encoded memory, sacred architecture, and spiritual credentials. Your essence emits signatures that confound the systems they rely on, vibrations that shatter their attempts before they're formed, frequencies they cannot hijack or corrupt. The protections were programmed long before your birth and have only strengthened each time you survived what should have taken you out. And now, look at the waste. Look at the hours they poured into preparation, scrolls decoded, elements gathered, secluded places rented, items imported with whispered instructions, priceless tools pressed into temporary altars, thousands burned on a blueprint destined to crumble. And for what? You didn't even flinch. You didn't even feel it. They are tired now, drained not just physically, but spiritually. All that labor, absorbed like water into desert stone. Nothing returned, not even a tremor. What they expected to be your collapse became their exhaustion. The ritual worker smiled, took the money, and let them believe it would work, knowing full well it would bounce back the moment it touched your name. And let's not pretend they all act in good faith. Some readers and ritualists refuse such assignments, knowing full well the price of tampering with those marked by higher authority. But others, they play games for profit, cashing in on ego and emotion, letting the ignorant find out the hard way. These particular fools met the latter, and the lesson was expensive. Now they're watching their accounts dip, their bodies weaken, their reputations fray. Meanwhile, you're over here shining, barely aware any of it even happened. Doors open, favor flows. Blessings land so precisely timed, they can't deny the contrast. While they strategize your destruction, your name is being whispered in rooms meant for your promotion. You walk forward unbothered because your field is untouchable. They never had access. They never will. And every attempt they make only solidifies that fact more publicly. Let them chase ghosts while you ascend. Let them waste their breath while you breathe freely. You weren't meant to fight this battle, only to outlast it. And you already have. They believed the illusion would hold, that no one would notice the contrast. But now, it's undeniable. In every shared space, every conversation, every quiet observation, your elevation shines while their influence crumbles. What they thought would be your downfall has instead become their spotlighted unraveling. And the sting isn't just in the failure, it's in the visibility. People are watching. People are whispering. The truth is no longer hidden behind closed doors or spiritual jargon. It's playing out loud with clarity that burns. Every intention they launched has returned, not just randomly, but precisely timed and surgically delivered. It's almost mathematical, so exact it's eerie. They plot loss for you and watch their own stability vanish. They speak scarcity over your life and find their own abundance drying up. Plans crafted with malice now resemble boomerangs, curving back with a velocity no one can stop. On the days they tried to cloud your clarity, they found themselves unable to focus. Missteps in judgment multiplied. Thoughts became fragmented. Conversations looped. Tasks forgotten. Errors made in places they once ruled with confidence. What they whispered over your destiny, they now choke on as it manifests in their own lives. This isn't bad timing. It isn't energy backfiring. It's a universal return policy in full effect. Every intention sent, now signature matched and delivered back with unmistakable accuracy. The systems governing these returns are older than civilization, untouched by manipulation or prayer circles. They do not ask for proof or wait for court rulings. They balance by nature. Every act leaves a fingerprint. Every thought initiates a pattern, and what's owed always arrives down to the finest detail, not one fraction off. The individual they hired to carry it out, who they believed held all the power, was never the one deciding the outcome. That role belongs to something far beyond them. The messenger did not issue punishment. They merely translated what was already written in the energetic blueprint. This was yours the moment you made the choice, the practitioner explains, not because I said so, but because that's how this system works. There is no appeal. There is no spiritual shortcut, only follow-through. Their faces drop as the realization sets in. The discomfort in their bodies, the chaos in their finances, the erosion of their bonds, none of it can be reversed. Not because someone cursed them, but because they opened a tab they never intended to pay off. And now, the collector has arrived. Their unity, once smug and arrogant, begins to splinter. What was once a tightly coordinated effort turns into a frenzy of suspicion. Side conversations escalate. Tones sharpen. They begin turning inward, questioning one another's loyalty, intelligence, and discretion. Who gave away the plan? Who misunderstood the instructions? Who underestimated the target? Their network implodes from the inside. Bonds formed over shared hatred now rot under shared regret. Eyes that once gleamed with malicious certainty now dart with paranoia. No one is safe from the blame. The glue holding them together was always delusion, and now, stripped of its binding lies, it cracks like glass under pressure. If your heart overflows with divine love, now is the moment to let it shine. Click the super thank you button on YouTube and give $50 or more to help carry God's light to others. Your gift will bless not only your life, but countless others. You are part of His sacred plan. Your kindness may be the answer to someone's prayer. Share your blessings and honor His kingdom. May His grace guide you always. Meanwhile, you continue forward, not untouched, but undefeated, not invisible, but invincible. And as their empire of envy crumbles, the light around you only sharpens. This isn't revenge. This is alignment. This is balance. This is what happens when divine law finishes what petty malice tried to start. They didn't expect this kind of implosion. Not from within. Not so soon. They assumed any cracks could be patched, any tensions smoothed. But now, the very alliance they once leaned on for certainty is unraveling thread by thread. No apology can reach across what's been torn. No explanation can bridge the collapse. Messages, once casual, now read like coded threats. Every suggestion feels like bait. Every compliment lands like a warning. The structure they thought was unshakable now trembles under the weight of suspicion. The atmosphere among them is no longer charged with confidence. It's poisoned by doubt. What once felt like unity now feels like surveillance. The sense of shared purpose that once gave them a false sense of power is now fragmented into cold calculation and hushed accusations. Trust has fled. The cohesion that made them dangerous has been dissolved into paranoia, leaving them ill-equipped to face the fortified field of force surrounding you. The moment the truth broke through, the revelation delivered by the very one they trusted to carry out their plan, it split the group in three. Some grew quiet, desperate to distance themselves from the damage. Others demanded escalation, believing stronger fire could break through a wall they didn't understand. A final few scrambled to make peace with forces they had foolishly provoked, offering rituals of apology to systems they couldn't name. What had been one intention now splinters into factions. Old allies become rivals. Shared motives turn into contested blame. Make your impact eternal. Join now and be a light in someone's darkness. They've thrown everything they know, every technique they could dig up, every tool they believed would work. Each spell tailored, each tactic focused. Restrictions placed on your path, disturbances aimed at your foundation, psychic interference masked as intuition, targeting your finances, your friendships, your physical stamina, hoping something, anything, would land. But nothing did. Every attempt, no matter how aggressive or subtle, failed to touch you. While they poured energy into deconstruction, you expanded. They expected collapse, and instead witnessed acceleration. They watched you cross thresholds they thought they'd locked. You didn't just recover, you bloomed. You didn't just avoid destruction, you shattered the ceilings they tried to trap you beneath. And that's when the practitioner, the one who was supposed to deliver devastation, stepped back, not in fear, but in awe, their voice unsteady, their words cautious. They admitted what their pride had long suppressed. They had never encountered anything like what shields you. Your protection didn't flicker. It glowed. It vibrated with a frequency so old, so high, they didn't dare touch it. Whatever walks with them, they whispered, answers to no one here. What they saw in that moment wasn't just resistance. It was placement, authority, the kind they hadn't been trained to deal with. It forced them to question everything they'd believed about hierarchy and access, about who could be touched and who could not. Their worldview, once tidy and controlled, now felt dangerously incomplete, because your very existence disrupted their assumptions about power. You were never just surviving. Your very breath, was a declaration of sovereignty, and the more they tried to figure out the how, the more they realized they'd never understood who you truly are. The damage among them is now irreversible. Friendships undone, alliances split, resources drained, and in their confusion, you keep moving forward, quietly, steadily, untouched. Their collapse is not your concern. Their unraveling is not your doing. It is simply the natural conclusion of aiming for what cannot be overtaken.